Welcome to another vintage fishing reel service and repair video. In this episode, looky what we have here. It's a Penn number 712 Spinfisher spinning reel with the aluminum spool, which, if that's original to the reel, would place this somewhere between 1974 and 1977. The ones prior to 74 had the plastic spool. I think the aluminum one's much preferred in terms of durability, so on. The plastic ones had a tendency to crack over time. Believe it or not, I got this for $3 at a flea market, and I couldn't pass it up. I saw it sitting there, and not going to pass that up for that price. So it works fine. It's a little tight. I'm assuming just old grease. The spring is really strong. It looks to me like the bail is coming down a little too far. Seems like it should be a little more like that. And so there's this little bail bumper here that's nylon or something. And quite frankly, it doesn't really look that worn compared to looking at the new ones and looking at the ratio of the width of this thing where the post goes in that hole, and that doesn't look too worn, but it might be. It just seems like that bail's coming back a little far. I don't know the extent to which it'll affect the winding of the line on there, whether it'll be even on there with that the way it is or not. And doesn't have the correct handle, so I'm going to replace that. I found an original replacement handle. Someone made this one. They may have even bent this, because this part looks pretty much original, but the originals are straight, not bent, so that person may have bent that a little bit, I don't know, and added this homemade piece of wood here for the knob. But otherwise in really good shape. Still has the badge here. So let's get into it. Pretty crusty in there, a lot of grit. And so on. Let's take off the side plate. Being careful not to booger up that screw and not to scratch it. I think I'm gonna go ahead and pull this off. And I got the anti-reverse turned off. You can pull this side plate off here. And it's not really overly greased or anything. It's probably just old. It's not even that terribly dry, but I think we can improve the performance of the thing with a good service here. I'm going to start by removing this screw here that goes into the main shaft. And that should allow us to pull out the main shaft. And then we can take off this crosswind arm. Again, being careful to use a appropriate screwdriver so you don't end up boogering that thing up. And then there's this little kind of sleeve that rides on the main gear and in that crosswind arm. And now we should be able to take out the main gear, put these things in the parts tray, and then we can take off the rotor here. And this one is a standard righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So remove this nut, and that should allow us to pull the rotor off. Okay. Put that in the parts tray. And then we got to get this pinion gear out of there, which means we're going to have to take off this. That's really gritty. Take off this shield here. And this looks to be the bail trip. And so I'm going to want to make sure I get that back the way it was when I put it back together. So I'm going to remember that that's facing towards the foot of the reel. All these screws are the same. So that comes out. And now we should be able to pull this pinion gear out and the associated bearing. Trying to kind of remember which way that goes in. I'm not sure it matters too much, but looks pretty similar on both sides. So put that in the parts tray and the pinion gear in the parts tray, which leaves us with a fully disassembled body ready to go and be cleaned. So there you have a fully disassembled Penn 712 Spinfisher. So I'm going to take all these parts to the sink, scrub them with Dawn dishwashing soap, some WD-40 on the gears and other greasy, oily areas, making sure to clean out these bushings and journals and this and that. And I'll be back just like that. Okay, so pull all of our parts out here. And I don't know if that's really a sealed bearing. I'm going to just try floating a little oil on there and see if that seeps through so we can lubricate that. Slip that back into place, and then reinstall this shield and bail trip mechanism. Remembering to keep that trip mechanism towards the foot of the reel. Now we can put I might put a little bit of grease right there. Now we can put the rotor back on. And this has a keyed washer that not only keys over the pinion gear but also keys into a seat on the rotor. And then we can put our nut back in place. Okay, so now let's see, we can go ahead and grease up the main gear. Give me some grease. Okay. Try to load it in those teeth. And then the face of the thing, because that crosswind arm's going to be riding on there. And I'm going to go ahead and oil the shaft here. And put that back into place. And I'm going to go ahead and put the handle on. Oh. Again, I don't know if that washer's standard or not, because this handle's been monkeyed with, so but I'm going to put it back. All right. Go ahead and put our little sleeve here on. And quite frankly, I'm going to put a little grease on that. And put that little sleeve on. And then and this screw also has like a little spacer in there, so it turns, so that crosswind arm and that little sleeve turns on there. So when you thread it down, it doesn't lock it up. So you got to get that little sleeve in there. Centered on that screw before it'll tighten down. It's got to slide down in there. sure everything's moving freely. And we should be ready to add our main shaft here. And I guess you can either grease this or oil this. I like to oil them. Of course, it doesn't probably last as long. It probably needs to be serviced a little more often, but it does make things so, really move smoothly. And we want to get that main gear shaft to fit into the end of this crosswind arm until the holes line up. And screw that down in there. Oh man, does that turn so much more smoothly now. I'm going to get a little bit more grease in this channel here. And I didn't grease the pinion gear. Of course, some of that grease that I packed into the teeth will work its way in there, but get the pinion gear greased a little better. Oh wow, so much more smooth than it was. All right, let's get the cover on. I tried taking some Tarnex to that medallion, but it didn't really do anything. It didn't really shine it up. I thought it might be brass or something. Maybe it is, but the Tarnex didn't really do much for it. So all right, now I want to examine the drag stack, and to do that, there's a pin or a clip in there that you don't want to be shooting across the room. And that basically holds the drag rings or discs in there. So we've got this keyed brass one. And I don't think that's supposed to be glued on, but you never know. It's probably just stuck. There's a fiber washer under that, so I'm going to lay these out in order here. So you got your clip, a keyed metal washer, a fiber washer, then you have a hexagonal metal washer, and then another fiber washer, and whoa, okay, then you have another keyed metal washer, and then a fiber washer at the very end. So that's the way it is in here, and there's all kinds of gunk in there. In fact, I think I'm going to go rinse that, clean that out. Okay, I don't know if these are supposed to be lubricated or not. They're awful dry and really fibrous. There's like little fibers coming out. I'm just gonna take and grease my fingers and just lightly grease these fiber drag washers. Again, I don't know if that's kosher or not, but I'm just gonna lightly do it just to give them slight lubrication and so they don't start sticking again. Alright, so we're going to reassemble it the way we found it, starting with a fiber washer, then a keyed metal washer, another fiber washer, a hexagonal washer, another fiber washer, and a brass keyed washer. And then finally our pin, or our clip. Okay, then we're going to slink that back down there. And put our drag adjustment knob back on. And everything seems to be working. And then, I'm probably not going to do it on camera. Of course, it's all oily now, so that kind of shines it up with all that oil from my fingers. But I'm probably going to take some automotive polish, some very light rubbing compound, and then some machine polish, and try to shine up this paint a little bit and make it look like it does now. With the, it's got oil on it now, it kind of shines it up, but I think I can get that permanent with some rubbing compound and automotive polish. But it's a good heavy, I mean, they were advertised to be light, but that's a heavy all metal and brass, by God, American made, beautiful spin cast reel, certainly suitable for freshwater fishing. I think they were also marketed for light saltwater fishing. Of course, you'd want to end up taking and rinsing them with fresh water and going through them if you're going to be using them in saltwater. But so I got a new handle for it, and now it's just a matter of switching those out. And I'm going to have myself essentially a like new pin 712. So there you have it, the pin 712 Spinfisher, all serviced. Not really repaired, but got the proper parts on it now. Still need to check on this, the level of this bail here. But other than that, I think it's ready to go fishing. Thanks for watching.